Welcome to Mr. Chalk's Revision Tips. In this video, we will look at biotechnology, GM crops, and microprotein. So, just as a bit of a reminder, food security is a measure of the availability of food required to support people or of a household, region, country, or a specific area. It is a measure of how much food is produced and if it's a suitable quantity for people to access and eat it. So, if we think about which would be the largest risk, well, the largest risks would be human population increasing, new pathogens or pests that went and killed lots of crops, or increased global warming, which would change different environments, which would have an effect on what crops could be grown. So GM technology is a technology that involves inserting DNA into the genome of an organism. So to produce a GM plant, new DNA is transferred into the cells. Usually the cells are then grown in tissue culture where they develop into a plant. So genetic engineering has made it possible to produce more crops by making plants resistant to a variety of different diseases or by making them suitable to live in different habitats. In addition to producing an increased number of crops and medicines, genetic engineering could become a common method of modifying animals used in food production. So scientists can now identify the genes in some species that control some characteristics. These genes can be modified using enzymes and insert a genome into them from another species. So this is genetic modification. So a common example of genetic modification involves the transfer of glow-in-the-dark gene from a jellyfish into mammals such as mice or rabbits. The gene is then inserted into an embryo of the mammal, so only a small number of cells need to be altered. So as the embryo develops, this new gene that's been transferred to it will be shown as a characteristic. So we've genetically modified bacteria to contain the human gene for insulin. These bacteria therefore produce human insulin, which can be used for diabetes. Golden rice, which is a variety of rice that has been genetically modified to contain beta-carotene, which helps people who do not get enough vitamin A in their diet. So this deficiency disease kills over 500,000 children each year. So we have also genetically modified soybeans, cotton and corn to also include beta-carotene. Other crops have been genetically modified to be resistant to insects. So the bacteria called Bacillus thuringiensis naturally produces a toxin that kills many insects. So the gene responsible for this has been identified, removed and inserted into crop plants. Other crops have also been genetically modified to be resistant against pesticides. So the genes that occur naturally in some plants will be identified, removed and inserted into crop plants, which means that farmers can spray the whole fields with pesticides and it will only kill the pests and not the crops. So it's likely that all crops have been selectively bred for greater yields over time, which is a very, very basic form of biotechnology. So an example of this is or an example of making food using fungus is by using the fungus fusarium, which is used to produce microprotein. So this protein produced from the fungus is then grown in large quantities and processed. So to do this, the pH and temperature have to be maintained at an optimum level. The temperature is controlled by a water jacket surrounding the fermenter, so that keeps the temperature at around 25 degrees. So sterile oxygen is then added to make sure that aerobic respiration occurs. So food source like glucose syrup is added, and the mixture is then stirred to make sure that the oxygen and nutrients are equally distributed, and this ensures a high level of growth. So if we're looking at describing how microprotein is produced, the important thing is to say that we're using a fungus, we add glucose syrup to it, we grow it using oxygen, so it's in aerobic conditions, and then the microprotein can be processed and harvested. So we're suggesting two possible advantages of this. It's quicker, it's suitable for vegetarians, it's cheaper, and it's more efficient than using land.
Thanks for watching.